This episode of The Tome Show is brought to you by listeners like you. Thank you for being patrons at patreon.com/The Tome Show. Welcome to The Tome, a D&D news, reviews, and interviews show, and I'm your Tome host, Jeff Greiner.
And I'm Tracy Hurley, and in this episode, number 398, we're going to be knighted as we look at the 2024-25 version of the Monster Manual in part 20 of the series.
Joining us for this episode is the ancient kraken of the Tome Show. Brandis Stoddard comes to us from Dimension 20, Worlds Beyond Number, and other things, as well as being a Tome Show regular, and a warrior podcasting for the gods from the beginning of time.
If I'm a kraken, I can assure you that my tentacles are reaching into all of the most distressing parts of this game.
Good. I'm glad you were the most distressing parts of the game, because I was worried for a second about where this is going.
These tentacles are so friendly.
Okay, good. Also on the team tonight is the kobold of the Tome Show from Gnome Stew. What do I know? JR, and the podcast Thaco with Advantage. Jared Rascher is a scrappy and clever cousin of dragons.
You know, as being associated with Gnome Stew, I think that was just a hate crime what you did there.
You know, I didn't intend that, but I'll take it.
So yes, we are still talking about the latest Monster Manual. D&D 5e got an update in 2024, and we're doing a monster-by-monster dive into this book. So to get us started, it's disclosure time. Jarrett purchased this book, and the rest of us got review copies.
I suspect that about the time that we finish this series, it'll be time to start talking about 6th edition. We'll be getting ready for the next Monster Manual.
But now, instead of saying the Monster Manual that came out in 2025 for the 2024 rules, we could just say 5.5.
5.5, because that's what they've gone to over at D&D Beyond. Which is also, I don't know. I don't know if I would call 2024 rules a full 0.5 shift to a new edition, but neither was 3.5 compared to, like, 3.5 was not halfway between 3 and 4.
No, not between 4.
No.
But if you were playing a ranger or trying to run the one Drow adventure where every single NPC had haste to make them a better spellcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not a huge mechanical change. That's just a small mechanical change that had a huge impact on a few stories.
Well, that's what happens when you're trying to wring maximum threat value out of a limited character CR budget.
Well, we could talk about various editions and how they've changed and whether or not the newest rule set is 5.5 or 5.24 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what we're here for today. We are here to talk about
I feel like there's a different podcast for that, wasn't there?
There's
Have you heard of those guys lately?
Something about editions.
Honestly, I've heard a lot from them lately because I am only just now starting to get to the 12 days episode. So we are going monster by monster through the Monster Manual, and that means we're talking knights, a thing that wasn't in the monster part of the Monster Manual previously. But now the NPCs, as we've discussed, are out in the wild with the monsters. And so we're talking knights. We have both the knight and the questing knight, because once you decide that you're going to go on a quest, your CR rises considerably.
Well, I mean, if you're stuck going after a questing beast, right, Gladysant is probably worth sort of some CR help, I feel.
So you get XP just for accepting that quest.
We didn't have a questing knight stat block before, did we? Isn't that new?
No, that's new. It's new.
Okay, yeah. So we have the standard knight stat block, which is CR3. And then we have the questing knight now, which is CR12, which is a considerable upgrade, which is actually nice. One of my bigger complaints oftentimes is the lack of medium to high tier NPC stats. I like that we're getting some of those. You know, if the most badass warrior that I can throw at my players is a stat block for a CR6 veteran or whatever, I think it's CR6. That becomes unimpressive real quick when the party is 10th level or whatever. It very quickly turns into a scenario where the players can walk into any medium-sized city and basically just wipe out everybody because the math is in their favor.
Right, and so this is notably set to the same CR as an Archmage.
Okay. And honestly, I feel like there should be a higher CR version of an Archmage as well.
Well, there is. It's a Lich.
Right. That's a different story. But like when you're throwing in NPCs like an Elminster or a Mordenkainen Kanan into adventures and they're being listed as CR12, like that is wholly inaccurate for and inadequate for legendary spellcasters like them, you know?
Right. I do agree with that. I think that you just run into there isn't ever going to be a general stat block that covers sort of the big dogs.
Sure, except that they still do it. Like Curse of Strahd, Mordenkainen shows up, spoiler, and I believe he's a CR12 Archmage.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a weird choice.
Right.
It's a weird choice.
Why not give him his own stat block full of various Mordenkainen spells?
Except that you need to question how that exactly how stat block is even going to come up in the adventure, right?
That's true.
And how much sort of page space it's really worth when every book they publish has painful cuts
right.
for space.
There's also, of course, that it begs the question of how does Mordenkainen, if he is properly statted, actually lose a fight against Strahd? But that's I guess that's we just can't wave that and don't worry about it.
The dark powers do what the dark powers want to do.
Sure. So, knights.
Wait, how did we get to doing 20 episodes of
I don't know how that happened.
It's Tracy's fault. We established that in the last episode I listened to.
Yeah, because the last episode Tracy missed it. We got through 3 letters.
That's right.
Now, what are those
we are
letters?
on task and efficient. Tracy's not misbehaving on air.
One of those letters we were almost done with already, and one of them only had 1 monster in it, but shut up.
Yeah, correct. All right, so the knights overall,
yes.
Like the to take the last one first, the questing knight is doing some very expected things. Aura of bravery, okay. It is granting immunity to charm and fear, definitely sort of getting that paladin vibe that you'd expect. Then
they're definitely coding the knight, especially the questing knight, as paladin, not fighter.
For sure, right? And the spell casting backs that up.
Yeah,
with a little bit of sort of scattered paladin casting. The Phantom Steed rather than Fine Steed is a choice.
It's a close approximation.
But Fine Steed is right friggin' there.
Yeah, it is. and
it's fewer letters.
And in a scenario where they have, it's true. In a scenario where they have the aura of bravery, and so they're setting them up as like there's potential that a questing knight could be an NPC ally, and you're definitely coding them as paladins. It's kind of lame not to give them a little bit of lay on hands as well, but here we are.
Sure. I would not be at all sorry to see this goosed up with 30-40 points of lay on hands. That would not feel out of bounds to me at all.
Is Phantom Steed and Fine Steed, are they different levels?
Probably. I'm not looking it up
Phantom
right now.
Steed is third. I don't know what Fine Steed is.
I may have actually used the stat block for a high level paladin very, very recently, and I threw a bonus action 3 times per day healing on him just to make it feel a little bit more paladin like.
Nice. I like that. Fine Steed is second.
So Fine Steed's also lower level. I thought there was maybe going to be a balance issue, and so they had to go. It's actually easier to balance if they would have done Fine Steed because it's a lower level.
Okay. To be absolutely fair to them, the Otherworldly Steed stat block has, for one thing, additional choice points.
Yeah.
And for another, a procedural stat block, which is absolute pants to handle on the fly as a GM.
Yeah, no, that's
not good times.
That's the difference, is that Phantom Steed, I can just use a horse stat block, done. And Find Steed, I have to like create another stat block to go along with this stat block, and that's a pain in the butt.
Right. And I mean, there's also nothing in the world wrong with giving the questing knight a mount that has a real stat block rather than being summoned.
Sure.
That you don't have to be playing Pokemon, right?
You can also just flavor the questing knight's steed as a spell summoned steed, and just pull a griffin stat block or a horse stat block and use whatever you want.
You're allowed.
I was going to say, you could make him a Minotaur paladin that rides a griffin, kind of like I might have done very recently.
Did the 2014 version of the knight, were they also either medium or small, or did it assume medium?
Medium.
Okay.
They are only medium.
So that's an interesting change, is that now they're acknowledging that, you could be a halfling and also be a questing knight. Or kobold, not to get ahead of ourselves. So yeah, so
based on the description, but yeah.
The questing knight reads pretty paladin-y. Their basic attacks are longbows and great swords. They make 3 of those attacks. They do a 5d8 radiant kicker, so basically they smite with every attack. But if you're fighting one and you're high enough level to be fighting one, the fight's gonna be over before, if it was statted as a paladin, it would have used all those smites anyway. So I don't mind just making it easy.
Except that they're smiting more often per round than a PC can.
That's true, because they're doing it 3 times.
Matter. It's here to just get them to the target damage value.
Right.
That's what's going on.
Yep.
That's because they have the oath of the grandfather.
Yeah, that's right. So then the baseline knight, they have lost the leadership feature, and they've picked up Parry instead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably for the best. Good use of the leadership action. Took a little more finesse, without necessarily justifying its page space, where Parry is brief and also obvious as to how to use.
And easy to adjudicate. Now,
easy to adjudicate.
The only downside to that, and we've seen this in other stat blocks, and we've been seeing this in stat blocks for decades, but it's silly that the knight can parry, but the questing knight at 9 CR higher has forgotten how to use that ability.
Right. I mean, as you know, Bob, they're not connected in that way at all. Right. That's not.
No.
That rationale is not part of the game for them.
But they could be.
Yeah.
I will say I used it was one of the Lazy Wolf Studios Thrones and Bones adventures. They kind of reflavored the knight as a jarl, and the nice thing about leadership is if you have low level characters, it lets your NPC be there and burn around, not taking the spotlight off of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that, I do miss the sort of more sidekick forward design of sidekicks in Tasha's. right? I love a stat block that knows it is here to be a sidekick and like delivers on that. Since I can talk about Neon Odyssey a little bit now, I will say that is something that some of our monsters have. I can't talk about which specific ones, but I can probably safely tell you that it's the thing we thought about.
There you go. So did the usually the things that change on these stat blocks are hit points and damage output. Is that fairly similar with the new knight to the old one?
You're going to see a little bit more damage output on the greatsword as they pick up a D8 radiant damage bonus on the greatsword and the heavy crossbow, just bringing them up, by about 4 damage a hit, which is fine. And then instead of advantage on saving throws against being frightened, they have immunity to being frightened.
Now, we talked about this recently because there was another creature that gained a new ranged ability. I feel like it was some sort of automaton. I forget which one it was now. That was
the Iron Golem
had heat vision now.
Yeah. Now the knight always had the heavy crossbow. That was always there.
Right. No, the thing that will continue to chafe a little bit for me is that the crossbow is actually the better option for the knight. And it doesn't feel thematically like that should be the case. The great sword should be the knight's go-to because it's more knight-like. And there's a part there's a part of me that like I go back to I started playing in 2nd edition when your paladins shouldn't be pulling out bows and things anyway, right? That was a big no-no. I like having the flexibility. I like having a ranged attack. But there should be a favored attack that's a little bit better.
Well, it's favored by 3 points of attack bonus.
+5. Yeah.
Yes.
It does have the attack bonus. That's true.
Like that attack bonus matters really a lot in like 15%, hitting 15% more often.
Is way better than doing 1 extra point of damage, which is what the
way better than doing 1 extra point of damage.
Okay, you convince me. I'm done.
Well, I mean, you're a teacher, but do you teach math?
I do think, in your defense, when we were talking about that with the Iron Golem at that CR, the +2 or whatever difference it was between the two is less pronounced than a CR3 creature losing 3 points of its attack ability.
Right. No,
I agreed with your argument about the Iron Golem quite a lot more.
Yeah. Anything else about the knight? It's taken us like 15 minutes to get through one monster, but very little of that was actually about the monster. So let's go ahead and move on to kobolds. We now have the kobold warrior and the winged kobold, which is similar to what we had before. We had the kobold and the winged kobold. They weren't specifically kobold warriors.
Right.
I like that naming, like they've done that naming sort of change regularly.
Right.
In this case, I don't hate it because it opens up the idea of more kobold stat blocks that you could fill in a whole, range of kobold society with additional stat blocks, and this distinguishes them in different ways other than just this is the standard representation of the species versus this is a distinct thing in the species.
And I do want to come out strong in favor of Dragon Shield kobolds from 4E.
Oh, there's a lot of potential for cool kobolds.
Just the first time your players who are new to 4E discover, there's tanky ones. Yeah. It's a special day.
Yep. I believe that's relevant to a book club book that we read recently, Tracy, isn't it? There was a kobold main character in that series who was famously wielding an ancestral shield.
Yes.
So the thing that gets me though about kobolds, almost everything got a little bit more nuanced description. Not a lot of backstory, but not so much the things about being cowardly and lazy and all that. Except kobolds are back to being cowardly. If you read the 2014 thing, they were really pumping those kobolds up. It was like, they're very industrious, and even though they're small, they can do things. And now we're back to they're cowardly little pathetic things.
Well, Jared, in fairness, the third word is craven.
Right.
That's true.
And
That's true.
And I kind of don't like. You're not wrong in that they over cowardly things in the past. But part of the reason that is a bad idea is because then when you do have something that is traditionally cowardly, it doesn't feel distinct or unique because so many things were being described as cowardly. I don't hate the idea of kobolds being described as cowardly because that's how they're oftentimes depicted in the narrative.
But Jeff, may I posit that if you were 2.5 feet tall and somebody that's 6 foot tall wearing plate armor tries to hammer you, maybe you wouldn't stand your ground and try and fight them strength for strength, and maybe you're not cowardly, you're just smart.
Well, I mean, there's a big emphasis in their physical ineptitude, so I have a lot of sympathy for that.
I have been biased though because like my campaign has been in the Dragon Empire and Midgard for a long time, and kobolds are actually a higher social strata than humans are there. So there's way more NPCs that are not craven, things hiding.
Sure. But that's a specific setting that fleshed out lore about how those kobolds are different than standard kobolds too. So I don't have a problem with that either. So how have the kobolds changed?
Okay, so we're going to start with the kobold warrior, which has picked up 2 points of AC, which, I mean, at CR 1-8 is definitely a reasonable chance of leading to a miss, right? They have, however, lost 2 hit points. They've lost 2 hit points. That is brutal.
Which is not insignificant when you're talking about a CR 1/8 creature.
They just lost around 28% of their hit points, guys.
But they also gained 2 daggers.
Cool. Sure. Why not?
I just like that they're specifically naming that they have 3 daggers, whereas before they had a dagger attack. But if you look at the art, even like I could count 3 daggers on that kobold, whereas the other kobold from 2014 is just holding the one kobold and barely wearing anything.
Yeah. Well, and what does get me about some of the like physically inept, reckless, but lacking in ferocity. What are you saying? Those words don't mean anything.
They are both grand and infinitesimal. There is both.
The kobolds are made up of multitudes, is what you're telling me? Come on. In brief, the kobolds are a land of contrasts. Thank you, book report, Jared. Jesus. But look at the art on this and tell me that dude is not a short king who goes to the gym every day.
Oh yeah. Also, like just hearing Jeff talking about how many daggers they had, I immediately start picturing. I picture this kobold doing like the bullseye thing in the Daredevil Born Again, where he's just like whipping knives at people.
Yeah. It's Captain Three Blades up in this piece. It's great. So they still have pack tactics and still have sunlight sensitivity, and so it's interesting to see sunlight sensitivity still be a thing, given how much like traits about senses are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This one hangs on, which is kind of wild. And then they have a dragon tooth blade, and they have. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. Jumped over.
They just have a dagger,
regular dagger. We'll get to the dragon tooth blade in a second, but they did lose their sling.
They lost their sling, and it has 0 mechanical effect.
Yes, correct.
Because throwing that dagger is the exact same thing as them whipping a stone at you with a sling.
Right, but now they have more daggers, so they can afford to lose one.
Right.
They do kind of seem to be like a people who should maybe have a bite attack. I don't know. They sort of have the almost crocodilian jaw in the 2014 art, and it's kind of hard to say what's going on with that snout. It's a little bit of a pit bull snout. It's very strange in 2024. I don't know about that.
The funny thing is I think in the 2014 kobolds, they almost were trying to keep the reptilian thing, but put like the dog nose on them as kind of a wink back to previous editions.
Right.
And that is not going on anymore.
Yeah.
Now, the winged kobold seems to have gone through a bit of a makeover.
Well, I just want to say I like the color coding. Like, it feels very sort of Dragon Warrior, right? Mm-hmm. These are the red ones; they're lowest level. There's the blue ones; they're slightly better. But the winged kobold has also picked up 2 points of AC. Has picked up about 45% more hit points.
And by that you mean 3.
3 hit points.
Which means that the other kobold can throw a dagger at him and not kill him.
Right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, the other kobold lost some hit points. Now we know where they went.
Right.
The winged kobold stole
them. And you still got the fly speed hasn't changed. And then you've got your pack tactics, sunlight sensitivity. The dagger has become the dragon tooth blade.
And they don't drop rocks anymore.
The dragon tooth blade does a little bit more damage. It looks more like a short sword with its D6. So, like, I'm gonna be real. If the DM will let me, I'm stealing the dragon tooth blade because that sounds sick, and that's my new short sword. That sounds.
Oh, I have bad news. It's not in the gear, so you can't take it.
Shut up! Don't tell my DM.
So they tried so hard to address the issue of the monsters have these things they're using for attacks, but it's never included in the loot. So they've tried by adding this gear section, and then they drop the ball like 80% of the time and don't include things that should be.
Word count, Jeff. Word count.
Oh, I suppose, but it's one line.
And then I do like the chromatic spittle, though in fairness, I also like the dropped rock.
I mean, they both kind of are pretty iconic to what these things like. They've leaned harder into the winged kobold in the new version as being more dragon-like, more connected to the dragons, and so you can imagine them swooping in and breathing a weak, acid breath at you or whatever.
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of evocative to imagine like a half a dozen winged kobolds flying around at the top of the cavern way above you and dropping rocks on you.
Right.
That's pretty narratively interesting as well. So,
yeah, it goes way back in D&D for sure.
Yeah.
I just have to say, though, when you use the term chromatic spittle, one, if you don't, if this is your first edition of D&D, you don't necessarily know that chromatic dragons are grouped together because they're not grouped together.
Right.
But on top of that, chromatic spittle just makes me think of like drool coming off of him that is rainbow.
That is amazing. Let's take a pin in that and come back to that. That's amazing.
I want you to write up a new cantrip that's prismatic drool.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna be telling your sorcerer, say it, don't spray it. Give me the news, not the weather.
So are we good on kobolds?
Yes, sir.
2 monsters done. 30 minutes in. Let's talk about krakens. So krakens are, if you don't know, I haven't been doing my little intros. Krakens are historically big, giant squid-like things that in D&D lore are ancient and more intelligent than you think of them as being, because usually when you see them, they're coming up out of the sea, tearing up ships and sinking back down into the waves, and they just come off as like natural disasters of the oceans, not major NPCs or whatever. However, they are ancient and intelligent and powerful. I mean, they have an intelligence of 22. I assume that's the same in both of them now.
Yeah. Yep.
So they're smarter than most of your archmages.
They're one of the sort of quintessential things that gets that Titan subtype on their monstrosity,
Mhm.
right? And I've complained about that in the past, so I'll let that
Yeah.
go. But when they said Clash of the Titans, right?
Yeah.
Right, and release the Kraken. So that is our like Clash of the Titans is our 1,000-year authority on what Greek mythology was. Nailed it.
Yeah, there's definitely multiple points in the D&D Kraken story, especially in 5th edition, that are like, I saw Clash of the Titans too. I even saw the bad one.
Yeah.
But
Calm your storm, Perseus.
But yeah, no, I do enjoy the lore. Like, I don't think it's wrong that when you encounter a Kraken, it's usually as sort of a natural disaster that sinks your ships and whatever. But I do like the lore that they're ancient and they're highly intelligent and they were once the warriors of the gods at the beginning of time, and like they've been around that long, which is very much in line with the idea of the weird but very capableness of cephalopods in the real world. Kind of to the nth degree, right?
Yeah.
I like that the new version has gone back to being more squid-like, as opposed to the update that they got in 2014, which doesn't look very squid-like. It's like half squid, half turtle, half dragon.
Yeah, hard to say what's going on with that.
That's 3 halves, Jeff.
I know. We already talked about how I teach math.
Yeah, you're gonna want to tighten up on your math skills. That's for sure.
I will also, just to call out, Forgotten Realms does have a famous Kraken, Slarkrethel, who has the Kraken Society, so he's got a whole faction that spies amongst the people of the Northern Sword Coast for him.
Yep. There are a handful of Krakens that aren't just portrayed as natural disasters. But that's sort of the stereotype. If you think of a Kraken in a story, that's usually it. It's the thing that is the explanation as to why your ship sank.
I blame Johnny Depp.
I am curious why, and I'm focused on the art instead of on the stat block, but I am curious on why the 2024 Kraken has a big mouth at the top of his head instead of the traditional like giant squid beak inside the tentacles. But I suppose whatever, I can depict it however I want.
Sure. So looking at the stats, the AC is the same. Got a very small number of hit points, considering we're talking about CR23.
Yeah.
9. It's not gonna change the outcome, but and it's double its swim speed.
Those two Krakens with that hit point difference are going to go down in the exact same round if you ran them side by side. 9 hit points at CR23 is non-existent.
Yep. It is double its swim speed, which is interesting. Increased its land speed, which I have questions.
They're faster.
Kaiju.
Yeah.
I do like the changes they made in 2024 a lot in terms of things like legendary actions. I like the idea of them having more legendary actions in their layer because it sort of fills in for some of those layer abilities and whatever, but it's a little bit easier to adjudicate because you're not doing yet another set of things. And I like that it's not just a standard 3, and we don't have it. Oh no, we do have it here. So both legendary actions and legendary resistances are not, used to just be a standard 3, and now they're playing around with those numbers a little bit in 2024. So it still has the 3 legendary actions, but it has 4 legendary resistances, which changes the tactics at the game table a lot. Because normally, if you realize that a creature has legendary resistance, you know that you're going to throw a bunch of stuff at it to get it to burn through those before you start throwing out your big spells.
I'm finding myself going back to look up the proficiency bonus of CR23 Oh, it's interesting that the saving throws in 2014 were always just wrong. They're off by 1 point.
This is a very minor thing. Absolutely not a deal breaker. Probably just a me thing. But I kind of like that the old Kraken's lightning storm was multiple strikes because it reinforced that idea that Krakens actually can control weather, as opposed to just shooting a lightning bolt when they feel like it.
Right. Now it's a lightning strike, and before it was a lightning storm.
So the adjustments to the saves are just getting the proficiency bonus right. Sort of odd, but there you go.
They have skills now too.
They do have skills now, and they've gained immunity to cold out of kind of nowhere.
It makes mechanical. I mean, it makes narrative sense because they live in the depths of the ocean where it's cold.
No, I have no problem with it. Like narratively, it's just it wasn't there before.
Right.
Let me see. They have gained immunity to the grappled condition, as if they didn't already mostly have it on being gargantuan.
I mean, if the Tarrasque wanted to try to wrestle it, then now it can't. You know?
Again, the kaiju battle.
You're right.
Yeah, right. They're just too slippery, and they've gained immunity to restrained, presumably for the same reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whatever that reason might be. Yeah. So, they had freedom of movement before, and now they just have now they have their immunities locked.
Immune to those.
But it was a trait before. There you go.
Yeah. They did gain that legendary resistance that I was talking about before. The old version didn't have legendary resistance at all.
Yeah, it was a weird leave out before. I definitely think it was supposed to be there and just got left out. Just looking at the rest of the stat block. So 4 per day or 5 in layer, that makes sense. Almost a definitional siege monster, right?
It kind of sort of has fewer attacks. Kind of sort of.
Sure.
But it has more flexibility in its abilities and its actions. Because in the 2014 version, it just had 3 attacks with its tentacles, and it could instead substitute one of those for a fling. Now it has 2 tentacle attacks, but then also has a fling, a lightning strike, or a swallow.
Yeah.
Which is the swallow replacing the bite? It looks like it.
Yes, it's doing piercing damage. It's supposed to be a bite. I definitely think the point of this is to just tell you, hey, using 3 tentacles was probably suboptimal in damage in some way, or just not as interesting as we want you to be. So don't default toward 3 tentacle attacks.
Right.
But you're right that they've changed the presentation of that.
Right. And I don't hate it. I like the flexibility. I like the sort of building into the stats, telling me what kind of strategy I should be using to make the monster more interesting. It does feel weird that you got this thing that's like all tentacles and it just hits you with 2 of them. But that's fine.
Yes, and I guess I am surprised that neither of its legendary action options is slapping you with a tentacle.
Smack you with a tentacle.
I mean, I was actually kind of hoping Fling would be one of your legendary actions, because I think Fling is a fun legendary action to give them.
Yeah.
I do like that. It's a relatively complex series of actions in that it has multiple abilities that can only be triggered if you have a creature grappled, but it has these tentacle attacks that it does multiple of per round that automatically grapple. So the Kraken is likely to have somebody grappled at some point in any given round, unless it has flung them.
So I will also say there's a challenge here for you to figure out whether the rules lawyer at your table has been reading the monster manual, because it says the Kraken throws a large creature. And I can totally see somebody saying, my character is medium. You can't use that ability on me.
No, it says the larger or smaller.
It doesn't? Because the text I have here, this is the online thing again.
Let's say D&D Beyond says larger or smaller.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, in 2024, it definitely says if the target is large or smaller, it was swallowed. Creature throws a large creature grapple by it. Okay, yeah, that's it's weird. Weirdly about.
Yeah, but they fixed it. So.
Yep, that's good.
Sorry, I'm too small for you to throw.
Yeah, just slipped right through their fingers.
They're what, mate?
I said what I said.
Fingers at the end of tentacles is just like a whole other realm of wrong there too.
I do like that the tentacles are attacks and literally everything else is a save. It differentiates those as being the other, those kickers as being another thing. Now, most of those were saves before, except for what is now the swallow and used to be the bite.
Yep.
It's interesting that two of those three things are effectively doing the same thing. The fling and the swallow are the same thing. It's just an issue of where they're flinging. On one of them, you're flinging away, and the other one, you're flinging into your gob.
I do kind of feel like at these pure size of a Kraken, attacking AC might not be as meaningful anymore. I might kind of get on board with, it's got you on scale. It's just saving throws all the way down.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like, your shield cannot turn this aside. On no day of the week is your shield helpful here.
That's fair. And I can see that. It's just not mechanically the way they generally design D&D, right?
No.
Even at high levels, somebody in your party is not going to have a save where 25 looks easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know that by and large I hate the changes to the Kraken. I even like losing Lightning Storm to gain Lightning Strike. It's narratively a little bit different, although I do like that you can do the Lightning Strike after your tentacle attack, so I can totally envision the Kraken grabbing you with the tentacle, holding you up in the air, and then zapping you with lightning because it's immune to it.
Well, and to your point about losing attacks, right? Lightning Storm was 3 attacks.
Yeah.
At 4d10, this is 1 at 6d10.
Mm-hmm. But could you do it and also tentacle attack at the same time? I don't think so. No. But now you can, and that matters because it's a dex save. So I can grapple you in the tentacle, and now that dex save is going to be a lot harder.
And then your rogue laughs at you.
Sure, but that's D&D, right? It's always a game of exceptions.
Yep.
But like every single kicker ability that it has is better if it grapples you with the tentacle first, and that's fun. And I like that the stat block takes a complicated, really large stat block and makes it pretty straightforward to run.
Yep.
Did it have legendary actions before? The Ink Cloud, the Lightning Storm, and the Tentacle Attack or Fling. So it lost the Tentacle Attack or Fling, but it still does a Storm Bolt or Lightning Strike and the Toxic Ink, which I assume is the Ink Cloud.
I am happy that in the Kraken's layers section, it's not in their stat block, but they do still get control weather if they want to just conjure up a storm because they're being jerks.
Yes, it's described in the layers section that they can cast control weather if it's in its layer, but it's not in the stat.
It's kind of wild. What's kind of wild about the shift from Ink Cloud to Toxic Ink is that it lost damage output, right? And just gained the poison condition. And it also went from a 60-foot radius to a 15-foot emanation.
Oh.
So that is an enormous loss of coverage.
15-foot emanation does not seem like nearly enough of a cloud for a squid of this size to be leaving.
But yeah, it's dwarfed by its own body.
Right.
It's that whole, shifting every legendary action to something you can always do, as opposed to, well, not always do. I take that back. That is an option at least once during your cycle of doing your legendary actions, versus before that was all of their legendary actions to do that version of Ink Cloud.
Yeah, super fair. It does.
But yes, size-wise, right, though, it needs to be a little bit.
Yeah, you're certainly right to say it needs to be a little bit more of a sort of apples to apples comparison. That's not that's not wrong.
Are we ready to move on, or do we have more cracking?
My last thing is just the D8 table is sort of a lot of very classic Kraken stuff.
Right. Ooh, I don't know what a sargassum is. I gotta look up words.
It's a seaweed thing.
Okay. This is the second time in a week that D&D has introduced me to a word I had to look up.
My man, I'm editing Luka Regic right now. I am learning a new word at least per page, and sometimes more often. This does not happen to me. It is alarming.
Being a D&D player has, like, since I was 8 years old, has always been a fantastic thing for my vocabulary. So
I learned 3 new words for green on 1 page today.
And none of them were cyan.
None of them were cyan. That one I already knew. Also, it isn't green, but
but it's also not blue. So, Quotoa. For people who don't know, Quotoa are fish-like humanoids that are often depicted as eccentric and funny in an encounter, and at the same time, they're incredibly interesting, in my opinion. Part of the thing that has always made Quotoa interesting is their ability to believe their gods into existence, which occasionally shows up as a funny little thing in video games or whatever. But it's actually like you could build a campaign around Quotoa believing gods into existence, and that could be a major point, plot point.
I can't believe anyone would think that they imagined Blibdril Ploop into existence.
Yeah, that's well, I mean, they were
on a Barbie doll with a lobster head.
They were on some really serious drugs, buddy.
I also like that that the Quotoa art has gone back to a more traditional Quotoa art. 2014 tried to make them more fishy.
Yeah, but I have to say that poor guy in the 2014 looks like he was just so psyched to start his day. Like he just woke up, he had his coffee, he was ready to start the day.
But it's badass that in the 2024, the Quotoa is riding on a helmet that has been from a Titan or something that has been turned into a shell for a hermit crab. That's some cool lore there.
That is pretty cool.
I feel like we've seen that helmet on some sort of massive Titan stat block elsewhere, and I love that it shows up here as a hermit crab's shell.
I would like to have a very real word with the person who wrote the quote in 2014. They have invent their own gods, the very definition of insanity, as to where exactly this person thinks the other gods came from. Especially in Eberron. I'd like to have a real word about Eberron.
Yeah, but they're from Minzer Baranzan, so they have a whole different pantheon.
Oh, I forgot. Lolth, of course, is the only deity that matters. I'm sorry.
That's it.
I do enjoy. Speaking of quotes, I do enjoy that the quote for the Quotoa now is coming from the Harbor Master of the Styes, and the Styes is a location called out in whatever that book was called, Saltmarsh. Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
Yeah, it was Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and it was also an adventure back in third edition in Dungeon Magazine.
And that adventure was then republished or updated and republished in Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
I need to say, when the corpse moon rises and the chum tide washes in is an amazing start. Amazing start. I don't care what comes next. Excellent work.
Yeah.
I between the artwork and also that ties into the Styes adventure, it is calling back to the fact that it's obvious that Deep Ones are one of the inspirations for Quotoa.
Definitely. I do like the instead of a D whatever table, they have two D10 tables wherein you get to mix and match what their imagined deity's head is versus its body, and so you can just sort of mix and match weird things. The weirdest of which to me is the crab claw, like for a head, because at least the others one could see a head working there somewhere, but just a claw, a crab claw for a head.
Well, I love the implication here that instead of a wizard did it, a priest did it.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like the picture of a plesiosaur with a sea anemone head, though.
Sure.
Also, this is one of the only cases where the 2024 version takes up more pages than the 2014.
Awesome.
Now, they've added stat blocks and they've added a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
But there's really kind of more lore and more everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a strange shift to see in this one place.
Because there's a third
random. Really like Quotoas.
Yeah, there's a third random table about the features of Quotoa communities. Like this is an entry that you would expect in Foam of Toes. No, Tome of Foes.
Yep.
Where they're going into more depth and detail on the creature. Like this, that's interesting that they're doing that. And now we have 4 stat blocks. Before we had 2, the Archpriest and the Whip. Now we have
no, we have the
3
baseline Quotoa also 3.
Did we have 3 before?
Yeah. So it's a rare case where they didn't add warrior to tell you that this is the baseline one.
Yeah. So we have our baseline, our whip, our archpriest, and then they added a new one in between whip and archpriest, the monitor.
Also, they changed from humanoid to aberration because, of course, they did.
Which, I mean, again, if they're going to be inspired by Deep Ones, that change actually probably makes some sense.
Yeah,
I am slightly less upset about that than some of the other places they've done that.
I agree with that, right? So let's see. Are we doing step blocks? Let's do step blocks.
I mean, if we're going to, let's do it now.
Yeah. So armor and hit points are same for the Quotoa. We have a sticky shield now. Oh, this is a sticky shield before.
That is sticky shield before, yeah.
Yeah. So, an extremely rare case of a disarming mechanic in 5e. Not a lot of those bouncing around.
Well, and I like that the disarming mechanic is by choice. Like you can not be disarmed, but now you're grappled because your weapon is stuck to the shield. And then if you want to disarm yourself, you can escape that grapple.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. They have lost their bite attack, which is fine because it was always a bad use of their time.
Yeah.
Not by a lot, but by some. And their spear is now only doing its 2-handed damage value, even though they definitely also have a shield and a net.
It's interesting that their net went from net to sticky net. I'm trying to see where it's any different because it seems to be largely the same.
Well, it's not an attack roll anymore, so there's that.
Oh, there is that. And it's once a day, whereas before they could just throw nets all day.
Yeah, they lost the ability to reset their net.
Which honestly makes sense. Why are they carrying so many nets? That's a heavy thing to carry.
You can refold the net. You maybe can't do it in a single round of combat.
Right. But in fact, you can't refold the net. Once you throw them, they're no longer useful. That's why they're not listed under gear.
They did roll otherworldly perception into just saying they have true sight.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is, I suppose,
kind
an
of
easier way to do it.
I kind of like that about them because it does reinforce this idea that it's not just insanity. It is perhaps actually perceiving things on a different plane of reality than other people do.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that. Yeah. All right.
So then the whip.
Yep.
With the famous pincer staff.
Yep. So their job is to get members of their caucus in the Senate to vote appropriately. What's going on? So their armor class is still terrible, but they did also lose 20 hit points.
I do appreciate that.
Their armor class is terrible, but at least they've lost more hit points.
Man, I don't tell you. And
that is a big bite out of them too, though.
It really is. Now, 65 hit points was rather a lot of hit points for CR1.
For CR1, yeah, that's crazy.
They lost Slippery and got nothing sort of in return for that I can see.
And they lost a bunch of spells.
They did lose their spells other than Shield of Faith twice a day.
Yeah.
But
they can conjure slimy globs.
That's why they're not. That's not why they're not slippery anymore. They're concentrating it.
Yeah. I do object to being conjured as a slimy glob. I bathe. And they have a pincer staff still, right?
But if you look at the artwork, the pincer staff makes more sense now. 2014 pincer staff looked like a crab claw cracker that you get at the seafood restaurant.
Well, right. It was supposed to be a man catcher, right?
Right. Whereas now it looks like they've devised something out of a giant crab claw, which feels like something that Quotoa would do down in the lightless depths.
If they think it works, it probably works.
They went from the tools side of Red Lobster to the leftover side of Red Lobster.
Yes. With the same effect.
Yeah. With more damage. They picked up 4 points of average damage.
They don't multi-attack anymore, though.
That's true. No multi-attack. And honestly, for CR1, that's probably fine.
Yeah. They were a bit tanky for their.
They were. That's tough for CR1.
11 AC notwithstanding.
Right.
But yeah, considering that you could maybe need to take one of those guys down, and then also something else in the encounter at first or second level adventures, you're gonna be there a while.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your Snickers. And so then we have the monitor. That is a CR3.
That's the new one,
right? That's the new one. It's our CR3. They have a bone whip that does a bunch of lightning damage and shuts off opportunity attacks. That's kind of their main thing. They're actually a really simple stat block. They're the simplest of the Kuo-toa by a fair margin.
And also, just to throw this out there, it's new to the Kuo-toa in the Monster Manual, but monitors have been a class of Kuo-toa going back a long time.
That's absolutely true. Good lore shout for sure.
It's also interesting that they've made this effort throughout the Monster Manual to add ranged attacks for things that didn't previously have ranged attacks. They did not do that with the monitor. The monitor still doesn't have a ranged attack, but its main attack has a 10-foot reach.
It's got good reach and reasonably respectable damage output, but just letting its job is to let its allies get away, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
I really like the artwork for the Bone Whip too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's sort of maybe the spine of some sort of a scorpion-like creature that you're running all the way down to the tail, where they left the pincer on.
Yeah. Then last we get the Kuo-toa Archpriest, which is not new. CR6. It's picked up 8 hit points. And as with the others, has True Sight now, which is great for them.
There's a lot less spellcasting.
Well, that's the trend line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But their hold monster is 6th level. That's a bad problem. That's a bad problem. You can't let them go on getting that spell off. And Destructive Wave is quite good also.
I will also say, as a DM, I would rather run a monster that's doing something like Destructive Wave than keep track of Spirit Guardians on an NPC.
Oh, I agree
love
with
it
that.
when my players Cuisinart my monsters. I don't necessarily want to be doing it with my monsters to my players.
I can see that.
I do like it when the players suffer and are frustrated and miserable, but
Especially when you take their tricks and turn it back around on them. They'll be like, hey, if you can do this, so can I.
but I do want it to be simple to run.
Yes, that's the other part of it. So I'm of two minds.
Yeah, for sure.
I like all the spellcasting. I like the fact that they can throw out some healing. Again, what's good for the PCs is good for the NPCs. But I didn't need a full battery of 5 levels of spell slots either. That was more than I needed it for any given stat block.
Yeah, and I would have liked to have kept a little bit of the healing.
Yeah.
I mean, Mass Cure Wounds can be kind of a reset button on a fight, and it's way overkill for most of the Kuo-toa stat blocks. Right?
And if only, even if they had made it like a ranged multiple people healing ability, like 1 time per day under their bonus actions.
Yep.
It also didn't, like the original 2014 stat block, it doesn't make sense why they would list both a melee attack with a scepter and a melee attack unarmed. Like, why do they get an unarmed attack and none of the other Kuo-toa did? It's just what they're doing if they get disarmed or whatever. That's a weird thing to include that they rightfully got rid of in 2024.
Well, that's because it's a strange scepter now. It's not just a normal scepter; it's a strange scepter.
Right, but the unarmed attack going away is a loss to no one in particular.
Right.
Yeah.
It only calls out why was that even there to begin with. It doesn't make sense.
Yep. Man, that thing does a lot of damage.
The scepter?
Damn. Yeah. That's great.
5d6 plus 3 lightning damage.
Yep.
Which is pretty darn good for a CR6 creature.
So I think that's it for me on the Kuo-toa.
It's also doing more of those attacks. It can do that strange scepter attack 3 times, whereas 2014 it only did it twice.
Oh, nice, yeah.
That's pretty significant. Like before, it was doing a little bit of bludgeoning damage, 6 bludgeoning damage, 14 lightning damage before, still averaging out to 20. It's doing the same amount of average damage, except it has a whole other attack and it's all lightning now.
Every time I see Kuo-toa, I am put in mind of our Out of the Abyss campaign, where the week that I was gone from the party, everyone decided that we were running low on supplies, and they ate the Kuo-toa that was traveling with us, and then lamented how good he tasted the entire rest of the campaign.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting campaign.
So I think, as much as I am loath to stop after only 4 monsters, we're at the end of the, and they're not even like 4 that we have rants to rail against. We were just very distracted today. I think
we should start counting the number of stat blocks, not just the titles. That's
that will make us feel slightly better. Yes,
that's because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 stat blocks tonight. That feels better. But we did get a whole letter done, and it has been about an hour. Who knows how long after editing. So that feels like a good place to stop, and we will pick up next time, and hopefully we'll get another letter done, because we're in the L's, and there's actually 5 of those to get through.
I'll do my best to stop you.
I knew we could count on you.
So we're going to call that the end of the episode. I want to thank our panel tonight, Jared. If people want to find more Jared Rascher and have more of that in their life, where can they go?
Well, you can find some of the older stuff that I wrote on Gnome Stew. I may write there again sometime when my brain actually lets me do it again. And you can also find other things that I wrote on whatdoiknowjr.com. But mainly now, you can hear me on Thacker with Advantage with my friend Ange, where we talk about D&D.
And same question for Brandis. If people want more Brandis in their lives, where can they get it?
Well, right now you can find me on the Tome Show Discord. You can find me on Blue Sky at brendastoddard.bsky.social. My blog, which has been a little quiet lately, is brendastoddard.com, and my Patreon, also quiet, related idea, is Brenda Stoddard. I do have some projects that I would love for people to hear about, if you don't mind, Jeff.
Yeah, please.
I would people to check out Tavers from Exalted Funeral, which is kickstarting right now, and if this episode lands within the next 23 days, you should go check it out. It is
Spell Tavers.
Tavers. It's a collaboration between one of Exalted Funeral's writers, Andrew Belluri, and the Meow Wolf people. If you know what Meow Wolf is, you're probably extremely excited right now. And if you don't, go to the Kickstarter and be extremely excited right now. And the other is that Neon Odyssey is going to be starting a Kickstarter for the new Neon Odyssey space opera 5e D&D setting quite soon.
Nice. Now I'm distracted.
You can go to neonrpg.com to learn more about that.
All right. Let me go back to the script. I was busy looking at Tavers stuff. So I also want to thank everybody who supports the show by being patrons at patreon.com/The Show. Your support helps me pay the bills, and that makes the show possible. Thanks goes out to our higher tier supporters: Doug Palmer, Hyperlexic, Trash Panda, and Michael Harrison. For as little as $1 a month, you can help make the show great as well. Thanks for all your support from our patrons.
And if you'd like to contact us, you can send email to tomeshow@gmail.com. And you can find us on social media at various places. I'm Sarah Darkmagic, that's Sarah with an H, and Jeff is Squatch, SQUACH.
And that is episode 398, where we knocked knaves to their knees for knitting knots around kelpies, as we discuss the Monster Manual for the 20th time in this episode of
The Tome. I'm on the wall.